So I'm going to leave that on, and then we're going to bounce down here to acquisition. So we went through audience. I'm going to close that. And now we see acquisition as the next main area for our business. I'm going to click overview, and acquisition is how did people find us? So out of all the people that came to our website, how did they find us? A lot of people for us typed in our URL. Organic search is second, social media, 16%, and then referral traffic, which again is links from other websites back to your website. So for us, this would be something like WF Vision magazine or the Chamber of Commerce, those sorts of things. And since I have the compare turned on, it's also giving me that data from a year ago. So you can see our direct traffic has changed. It has doubled, which is pretty interesting. Organic has actually gone down a little bit. So some interesting data you can get there. Now, under acquisition, you'll notice that this all traffic has a little bump out of its own. And probably the most important thing that I look at when I'm looking at analytics for a client or for ourselves is this source medium. So acquisition, all traffic, source medium is where we're at. And this is telling me where people are coming from that are finding our website. So we talked about direct being 584 visits versus 190 a year ago. And then it starts to separate out some of the different channels. So we've got Google Organic, which is actually down a little bit from a year ago. That's interesting. Next, we have l.facebook.com. L is local. So local Facebook. We can see that is way up for us. m.facebook is mobile. So that's people looking at Facebook on a mobile device and then clicking over to your website. Typically, this is because you're running ads or you're sharing blogs related to your business, related to your website, things of that sort. That number really hasn't changed. Now we've got Bing Organic. And a lot of people say, who cares about Bing? But Bing is really important for window treatment and awning companies, again, because of the demographics. It tends to skew to an older crowd. And an older crowd tends to, when they get a new computer, Bing is the default search engine. Microsoft Edge is what's already loaded in. They tend to stick with those and use those as their search. They don't necessarily import or pull in Chrome, install Chrome, and use the Google system. So it's interesting to see what those numbers are for you. And I would expect Bing to be a little bit higher there. Clutch is a referral. It is a website that sends traffic to us. And we can see that one is down. Regular Facebook, or what we would call desktop Facebook, I guess. Then we've got Google CPC, which is cost per click. This is Google AdWords system. We're not running a ton of ads, so it makes sense that there's not a lot of people coming from that. Then we've got Baidu, which is another search engine in a different country, quite honestly. So I'm not really worried about it, even though it has an 1,800% increase. That's awesome. But it doesn't matter because it's not necessarily the traffic I want. And actually, if you look over here at how long they spend on the website, no time at all. So kind of silly to even have them in there. And then we've got DuckDuckGo, organic traffic from them, 0 versus 8 this year. DuckDuckGo is kind of an interesting character because they do a lot more with privacy, and I've seen people moving over to that system versus Chrome or Microsoft Edge, something like that. So I'm not surprised to see them in the list. I'm also not surprised to see the very small amount of traffic that they're still sending to us. 0.76% of our traffic came from DuckDuckGo. But this is my favorite because you can start to see source medium there. Which is pretty interesting. Now, the other thing you can do here under primary dimension, I just left it as the default, but you can actually just look at medium, for instance, which will lump all of the different ways people can find you. It'll lump them all together. So earlier we saw Google organic, then a little bit later we saw Bing organic, then a little later we saw DuckDuckGo organic. This lumps them all together. All of those people came from organic search to our website. All of these people, no matter what the website was that they linked to us, all of those people are now lumped into this by clicking on this medium option. And we also have none. So none is when a person comes to your website, sometimes maybe they're using incognito mode, right? Or they're just not sharing their personal data. It could be public devices that have that turned off, something like that. So Google just lumps all of those types of visitors under none. And it doesn't really help us because we don't honestly know which one of these below they actually came from. But they're just all lumped together, and it's not unusual to see them typically in the first spot with the most traffic either. So now we've got CPC, which is our advertising. Obviously, we haven't run very many ads. Now we also have emails showing up in this. So if you're doing newsletters regularly and you are adding an email attribute to each newsletter that goes out, if you're using a system like MailChimp or Constant Contact or our system, Lead Boomerang, you'll start to see them in here. And then here is Facebook with not much traffic coming from that. So you can start to see how they lump them all together. And you can also do this by source. So this will be Google, Facebook, Bing. So it's sorting them out by source, not necessarily by whether it was paid or organic. And then you can also click on keyword. Now, in most cases, you're not going to get this information. Google has taken away all the keyword information, and they did this years and years ago, where they used to share what keywords people were typing in to find you. They don't really share that information anymore inside of Google Analytics. You can get that information if you're running pay-per-click ads. You can also get that information from Google Search Console, which is another free tool. We're not going to cover that today, but that does give you some of that information, what people are finding when they click on, when they see you in the results, things like that, how many people click, what different keywords you're ranking for, those sorts of things. So back over on the left, Google Ads. If you are running Google ad campaigns, you can, again, connect those up to this system. I'm not running a ton of ads, so I don't have a lot of this set up. But if you're running ads, you will start to see a lot of different data in here. How many people are coming through the site? What pages are they looking at where you actually ran an ad? And how are those people looking at your website compared to somebody who is maybe coming from organic, right? So you can kind of start to compare those two different types of visitors and see what they're doing, where they're coming from. And there's some really cool information in here, keywords, which will show up because these are paid ads that you're paying for those keywords. Hour of the day. This might be interesting if you see that you're getting really no paid traffic from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It may be best just to turn your ads off during that time. Don't even waste the money. And that concentrates your ad budget more to the hours when people are actually engaging with your business. Search Console, as I mentioned earlier, this is, again, when you click on this the first time, it's going to say this is not turned on. Do you want to turn it on? Yes, you do have to have a Google Search Console account, and you have to have your website claimed. And you would do that at google.com/webmasters. Get started, and then go to Search Console. Now for us, obviously we already have it, so it starts to give us some different information about our website, how it's working together. But all of that can then be sucked into Google Analytics, so you don't have to go to two separate websites to get this information. Now, some really cool things that are happening is it starts to show you what content are people seeing when they come to my website. So by far, the number one is this price war, which is a blog article of ours. Number 2 is an article about the BBB. Number 3, boosting a Facebook post. Now you can see that this one was actually all of these were posted well over a year ago because we have last year's data, right? Now this one, important SEO metrics to track. You can see it has no data from last year because we didn't post it until after that time frame. So just so you can see the difference in there. But typically, this is not unusual to see that that's basically double what it is a year later, right? Because when you put up a new blog post, you tend to send it out to social media, share it in different places. Google also has something called the freshness algorithm. So the fresher the content, the more likely it's going to rank a little bit higher and show up in the Google index for different searches. As time goes on and stuff gets stale, they show it less and less, which is a perfect opportunity for you to go in, check out this content. So this boosting of Facebook post was really popular a year ago. It might be worth us going in and freshening up this content, making it better. So not changing the content, but just making it better, adding to it, making it longer, making it, provide more value for the user. And then we might see that one really kind of bounce back up. So if you have some different pieces of content in here that you want people to see, and it looks like it's getting a little stale, it's definitely worth spending some time to freshen that content up. And then we have some other things over here: countries, devices, queries, things like that. Not going to spend a whole lot of time in there. Social is exactly what it sounds like. Social media, what people are using when they come to your website. These numbers are typically pretty small because social media doesn't tend to drive people to websites, especially to engage with your website, or to, most people on Facebook are looking at grandkids and cats, right? They're not necessarily looking for a window treatment or an awning company. Now, if you're running retargeting ads, they were at your website, then they start seeing your ads in the Facebook feed. That's an opportunity to get somebody back to your site. Oh yeah, I forgot. We were thinking about doing the awning on the back deck. Here's an ad. Let's click on it. Right. That kind of traffic makes more sense from a conversion standpoint. But typically, social media traffic doesn't send a ton of valuable traffic to your business. But nonetheless, it is in here as a way to acquire customers.